This morning we're taking off down the road. We got our string run part of the way. Righteous is weed eating, and we're starting to drive post. The road done, and we are starting down through the middle. With two of them driving, they are driving fast. But my string is up there. We're going to have to pull it down. I'm unloading post and measuring for them. So that's been a good morning's work. We got to the edge of the corral, all the way to the road. It's really looking good. Thankful we got this much done today. And all the way down through there. Now this is our sorghum patch at 5 weeks, and it's looking absolutely spectacular. On Monday of this week we put out a video about how we laid it by and showed you the tractor that did that, and I just wanted to show you that this is where our focus has been, is on the sorghum. And earlier in the video you saw the fencing we've been putting up, and I'm going to show you the sweet potato patch here in just a minute. But later, just a little bit later, I'm going to show you what I'm trying to salvage in the garden, the main garden, and we're going to search for the herb garden. It's just about disappeared. So here we go. The sweet potatoes are all cleaned out and they're doing awesome. The first row here is just flowers, and 1, 2, 3 rows of sweet potatoes, and we cultivated them all we can, and now they're starting to spread out, and so are the pumpkins. And earlier you would have known, if you followed us at all, that we planted watermelons, sunflowers, and corn, and goats. So we are replanting the corn because it has just enough time to get done, especially if we have a late frost. We're going to go ahead and plant the corn again in the morning, and we're going to go ahead and do sunflowers. They just grow real fast, and keep the goats out of here. So they are forbidden to come in the front yard. They have all these woods around the house to go in, and they will just have to stay behind because they can't stay out of the gardens. And I don't blame them. What's in the garden's better. So where it looks like in the main garden nothing's been done, because nothing has been done. You saw where we fenced. We're doing fencing like 3 days a week. 2 days this week we've been in blueberries. But this is a main crop right here that we really depend on, is our sweet potatoes and the pumpkins. So you just do what you can. We're in the garden now, And even though I knew that this summer was just not going to be the main garden focus, I knew that we were going to be doing fence like you saw before. It's still kind of sad when I do get the chance to come in the garden. It's all overgrown. The tiller broke down, not been able to do my tilling like usual, and just a lot of plants didn't make it. So I'm going to take you with me right now, and we are just going to look around and see what we can salvage. Some things are just going to be tilled under, and new fall crops are going to be planted, because we will have more time later in the summer. The cows will be over in the new pasture, and hopefully I will be growing my first fall garden. So I'm taking you with me now, and try not to be too critical, because it's bad. But there are some good things in here, that some things I haven't even grown before. And I'm very thankful for that. But that row of tomatoes that didn't get took off good, they're just nothing. They just didn't do anything. The corn where the goats chop the top off of it, eat the tops off, it's only chest high, but it does have ears on it. So I'll show you that. So we're going to see what we can salvage. And thank you for being with me. The gourds that were on the trellis, they were planted in the sawdust, so they just didn't get enough water. They produced, but just wasn't the right soil for them to grow in, so we'll work on that again next year. But now our flowers are doing beautifully. And this was our experimental row of potatoes, and all that's there is weeds. Now these are flowers. These are not part of the okra plants, but I wanted to show you this beautiful okra. This is our experimental stuff, and it's pink okra. Now I know that these plants seem short, but they just don't get as tall. They may get waist high, but they just don't get as tall as your regular okra. And here is our terrible tomatoes. Got this one on this end that did okay. Here's the other row. Like I said, the tiller is broken, and we're just doing what we can. This is the row of peppers. I'm going to weed it, pick it. We are going to salvage the peppers. The peppers are going to be just fine. There's peppers on there that need to be harvested right now. They're actually very beautiful. Try not to be too bumpy on you. And we're just going to get them weeded. And the cucumbers did beautifully. And I've got all the old ones picked off, got them weeded. Rain is supposed to come tomorrow. If it doesn't, I'm going to water them. And I'm expecting to do some pickles. And some years I don't do good on cucumbers, and we don't get any pickles. So where we don't have tomatoes, we are going to have pickles. So this row was the beans, and I said there's some beans in there, but they never did germinate really well. And so we're just going to plow this under. And here's that little corn. This is silver queen corn. And it's got little corn on it, but it's just not going to do anything either. You can tell where it's not been tilled. The squash is doing okay, and the peanuts are doing fine. So we should have a good harvest of peanuts. And this is just the part of the garden that I knew we weren't going to do a big garden this year, and we're just keeping it worked up. So we will be able to salvage. Oh, look at the elders. So see, you'll have some things, look at them up there. Some things that just do magnificently, and then some things, the poor corn, I'll know if this ever happens again, which the cows won't be here, so the goats will be in their pasture. They munched off the top of every stalk of corn, and this is how it reacted to that. So I'll know the next time that happens to go ahead and plow that corn up and plant new. But we see that we are going to be able to salvage the cucumbers, the peppers, the okra, and this row, I haven't decided yet. We're going to go ahead and probably have to hoe this up and plant either sunflowers or more flowers. We might take these tomatoes up and put the sunflowers behind the flowers, just to give us something beautiful to look at for the fall. So that's what we're going to be able to salvage out of the main garden, and thankful for that little bit. Now this part is finding the herb garden. You can obviously see how neglected it is. And there are definitely herbs in here, but there's plenty of grass. But if you take a closer look, here's the strawberries. Let me take you up here just a little bit. We have started. We're harvesting the onions that got covered up by the weeds. Dill is doing beautifully. Echinacea, besides those I have in the tubs up there, are actually doing better than they have in a long time. And that's our medicine. I'm letting the mullein drop its seeds, and I'll be harvesting some of it, and then some of it I'll use the seeds. But you can see that we've got about a quarter of it done, and we will be planting something for the fall over here. So we have started, but the fencing was our main priority. We knew that this year, and that's why this all looks like it does. But you look closely, you can find the beauty. You just have to look. Now you'll see that I haven't harvested all the dill. I'll probably harvest some more, but I'm going to start with this basket, get it dried, because I have a very special friend that just cannot live without dill. And I am going to make very sure she gets her dill. And I also don't harvest it all because although dill is not a perennial, it does self-seed. So these heads with all these dry seeds, I will make sure they get sowed back down into the ground. So I've only had to plant dill a couple of times, but it just comes back year after year. In between things, it's fine. It's not bothering anything. And it doesn't get real invasive or anything like that, but it does give me just enough to, that's not quite ready, they're not coming off. It does give me plenty to be able to do pickles and share with my friend. So this is how the flower looks. This one is before the flower opens. This is before it's starting to get ripe, and these are the ones that are the seed heads. And they're fixing to get dry enough to come off. And they'll just reset. I mean, you can dry them. I could take this off, dry it, put these in a bag, and so I could reseed them in the place that I want them next year. But like I said, we just till around them. They come up early. Sometimes they come up all winter. Just depends on how mild the winter here is in North Carolina. And so we just till around them when we see them. We just let them have their own way because we know they're good. This is the next morning, and we have salvaged the pepper row. And we gathered a lot of peppers. One of the neighbors to the channel asked us what happened to the onions that we planted that just came out of the sprouts of last year's onions. And so I'll link the video right here to that. But here's what they did. Crazy. Every one of them were like this. 2 little onions. 2 little onions. 2 little onions. Every once in a while you'd have 3, but 2 little onions. Here's 3. So, neighbors, I don't know what to do with these. They're small, as you can see. These are just the sprouts from the onions that we kept over winter. And this is what they did. They did make a little onion. So I don't know whether to keep these for bulbs for next year, or just to go ahead and use them and maybe make onion powder out of them because they're so small. So if you've got any ideas, but this is for the neighbor that follows the channel that wondered how they did because they had some too. So this is what they did, and they were in good soil, so not too big, but they multiplied like this. And they were not multiplier onions. These were just, as you can see, these are just the regular yellow onions. Here's a red one. The red ones did exactly the same thing. So give me your ideas and what to do with these little onions.